The Supreme Court of Ghana this afternoon has, in a unanimous decision, shut down a request by the NDC flag bearer in the election 2020, John Mahama, for a rerun of the election between himself and President Akufo-Addo. The Apex Court today dismissed that election petition brought by the NDC's candidate, saying it lacked merit. In a judgment which lasted about 2 hours, President of the 7-member panel, Kwesi Eni-Yeboah, read out the decision. We bring you highlights indicating the reasons upon which the court made its conclusion. Listen.
They recounted the fanciful tale of how the chairperson refused to heed their complaints on some irregularities they noticed in some of the coalition forms that came from some of the regions. We describe this evidence as fanciful because that's why these alleged protests, they went ahead to verify and certify 13 out of the 16 election regional coalition seats. Their testimony included an account of how the chairperson of the first respondent managed to trick them to leave the strong room by sending them on an errand to confer with the petitioner, during which period he declared the result of the presidential election without their participation. While the testimony of PW1 was emphatic that the petitioner is not in court to challenge or compare the figures or data presented by the first respondent with any other figures, the testimonies of PW2 and PW3 were in respect of alleged irregularities in the figures or data on some of the regional coalition forms that they cited in the strong room, but which they ultimately signed or certified. Notwithstanding all these allegations of misunderstandings with staff of the first respondent in the strong room and the fact that they were absent during the declaration, they did not give any indication as to how these happenings and the absence affected the final results announced by the first respondent. Having signed or certified these forms, the witnesses, particularly PW3, cannot turn around to talk of irregularities in the said forms. Their testimonies would have carried some little weight if the purpose of the petition was to challenge entries made on the coalition forms or summary sheets, but that is not the case. Their testimonies were therefore of no relevance whatsoever to the issues set down for determination, and we found them unworthy for any consideration whatsoever in the settlement of the issues. In fact, regarding the testimonies of PW2 and PW3, if their evidence is to be believed, then they have to blame themselves for abandoning their post at the National Coalition Center at the time the verification and certification of the results were ongoing, and PW3 had then verified and certified 13 regional coalition results out of the 16. With respect to the duties of party agents or representatives, we refer to the Kenyan case of Amolo Odinga and another versus Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and 4 others, number 2 of 20th September 2017, where Indongu SCG opined that once the Constitution gives citizens the right to vote, the freedom to choose and conditions are created for the realization of that right, it is not the business of the court to aid the indolent. If party agents are required to be present, sign statutory form and undertake any other legitimate duty that is imposed upon them as part of the political process in an election, then they are under obligation to do it. To fail to do so is not only to fail one's party, but also to fail our democracy. The courts must frown upon any such inaction, reluctance, and delay. A candidate or her agent cannot abscond duty from a polling station and then ask the court to overturn the election because of a failure to sign a statutory form. Every party in an election needs to pull their own weight to ensure that the ideals in Article 86 are achieved. That we shall once and for all have simple, accurate, and verifiable, secure, accountable, transparent elections. Again, in the Nigeria case of Atiku Abubakar, the Independent National Electoral Commission and Buhari, Supra, Mohammed Lawal Garba, JC, stated that it is pertinent to restate that from the evidence of all the witnesses called by the appellant, they admitted that their polling agents signed all the result sheets, and this so voluntarily on the instruction of their party, the first respondent. The implication is therefore obvious, as it would have authenticated the validity of the documents. In other words, the result is the agents in law were all presumed to understand what they appended their signatures thereto. They could not in the circumstances have turned around to deny the contents of their signatures. End of quote. Evidence of PWI. Regard to the first witness, PWI, the government of his evidence as per his witness statement after the court had expunged some portions of same upon objection raised by the respondent is captured in the answers he gave during cross-examination by counsel for the first and second respondents. According to him, the petitioner did not come to court to challenge the validity of the figures or data presented by the chairperson of the first respondent. That is why in his testimony, he did not provide any data to contradict that of the first respondent. His assertion was that the figures initially collated by the chairperson contained errors, which his party, the National NDC, the National Democratic Congress, pointed out in a letter addressed to the chairperson on the 9th of December 2020 before the declaration. However, in effecting corrections to the wrong figures or data, the first respondent did not invite them for their participation, but unilaterally effected the said corrections contrary to Articles 23 and 296A and B of the 1992 Constitution. The question is, what is the legal implication, if any, of first respondent's failure to involve the petitioner and his agents in correcting administrative or clerical errors made in the computation or the declaration? Neither the petitioner nor his witnesses mentioned any to us, and we do not find any.
That's Justice Aniya Boa there. Well, what is the conclusion? I'm sure you must have heard the ground conclusion, but take a listen to him read it in court today.
The exercise of discretion under Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution by administrative bodies, which includes the first respondent, are not matters for the Supreme Court. These are infractions that the petitioner could have sought redress in the High Court. To quote Mafusam JSC in the Afoko case, Supra, Article 23 of the Constitution deals with administrative actions, and even where a breach of that provision is alleged, the remedy lies in the High Court and not this court. Article 23 is part of Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution on Fundamental Human Rights and Freedoms, which by Article 33, 1 and 2 of the Constitution ought to be enforced in the High Court. End of quote. See also Eduse versus Attorney General, 1996-97, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, page 1, and Eduse versus Attorney General number 2, 1997-98, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report 753. On the exercise of discretion under Article 296 and alleged breaches or violations of sin, this court in the Mayor Agblese case, Supra, held per court yes as follows. Throughout the Constitution, discretion has been vested in persons or bodies charged with his responsibility to exercise one power or the other. Where the discretionary power is not exercised according to law, the recourse by an aggrieved party lies in some other remedy provided for in the Constitution, and not an invitation to invoke the original jurisdiction of this court. End of quote. Though the two authorities cited above involve the invocation of the original jurisdiction of this court under Articles 2(1)(b) and 131 of the 1992 Constitution, the same applies to an election petition. The first respondent is an independent body that performs its functions without anybody's directions or assistance. Article 46 is specific about this. It reads, except as provided in this Constitution or any other law not inconsistent with this Constitution, in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority. End of quote. We are settled in our minds that delegation of vote pardon to the voters' intent, if possible. The right to vote is at the core of our democratic dispensation, a principle I've affirmed in this opinion with reference to the Tenadi and Amma Okansi line of cases. End of quote. Conclusion. We conclude this judgment by emphasizing that the petitioner did not demonstrate in any way how the alleged errors and unilateral corrections made by the first respondent affected the validity of the declaration made by the chairperson of the first respondent on the 9th December 2020, as already stated in this judgment, the petitioner has not produced any evidence to rebut the presumption created by the publication of CI 135, for which his action must fail. We have therefore no reason to order a rerun as prayed by the petitioner as in relief F. We accordingly dismiss the petition as having no merit.
As the court pleases.
Justice Eniabua reading the conclusion of their judgment there. Well, we'll bring you the reactions from the legal representatives of both sides. But let me take you right now to the presidency. How is President Akufo-Addo and his vice reacting, or how are they reacting to this news? Elton Brobo is our presidential correspondent. He's joining me via Zoom. Hello, Elton.
Yes, good afternoon, Gifty.
Right, Elton, walk us through the reactions from the presidency.
So President Akufo-Addo came to office around 10:30 this morning. He came in at a time that the Chief Justice was reading the judgment of the court. So he went to his office. He was wearing a black shirt with a white shirt with a black jacket over. When he sat down, he was joined in his private office on the 4th floor here at the Jubilee House by the Vice President and some officials at the President's Secretariat, where they monitored the judgments on television. I must say that at that particular moment, the office was very quiet. Everybody was in a pensive mode, monitoring events. But when the judgment came, for want of a better word, in favor of the President, because the petition was dismissed, that's pensiveness that we had witnessed when the judgment was being read gave way to laughter and then calmness in the room. The Vice President was the first to congratulate President Akufo-Addo, and he was followed by the Secretary to the President, Anas Antibidi, and some officials here at the Jubilee House. And then later, the protection unit, some other officers also came in to congratulate the President and then wish him well as he officially, if you like, begin a second term in office. Right after that, President got into business of the day, immediately went down to meet with the Nigerian ambassador to Ghana, who is ending his official duty tour here in Ghana. He did not speak about the outcome of the presidential election. My information, or what we've been told officially, is that at exactly 5 p.m., when it's like an hour and 10 minutes away, the president lawyers, those that represented him in court, Akuto Ampao, Van Davies, Yao Pong, and the others will be here at the Jubilee House to officially tell him about the outcome of the election petition because they represented him in court. And as is custom with their practice, they will have to brief their clients on the outcome of the elections, and then they would expect a thank you from the president. And then I'm told that there's likely to be a broadcast to the nation by President Akufo-Addo accepting the outcome of the election petition and then promising to work with both sides and unite the country, heal wounds, and ensure that the country forge on, build on, and ensure the prosperity that he's promised the whole country in the broadcast that we are expecting later this evening. But here at the Jubilee House, it's been very quiet. In fact, when I got here, I was expecting to see people in white in readiness for some kind of a jubilation, but I didn't see that. Indeed, people were out there in their numbers. Those who were taking the COVID-19 vaccination were at the banquet hall. At the main foyer of the Jubilee House was where some personnel from the Ghana Armed Forces are undergoing rehearsals ahead of the Cease March parade here on Saturday, which will be held for the first time at the foyer of the Jubilee House. And even as I speak to you right now, they are preparing the place ahead of Saturday's Independence Day celebration. So for here at the Jubilee House, it's been business as usual.
Well, Elton, very interesting one there. So at 5 p.m., that meeting is supposed to go on between the president and his legal team. The petitioner, John Dramani Mahama, will also be making an address. We'll bring you all of that. Elton, thank you very much. Elton Brobe is my colleague at the presidency, presidential correspondent.